Hey, it's the Crypto Goon, and shout out to all my crypto goons for pulling up once again. So today I'm doing something a little bit different. Now, I saw a lot of people on different platforms and on YouTube discussing cryptocurrency and astrology trading. Now, for anybody that is new, yes, it is true that there is a style of trading and that astrology can have an effect on financial markets. There is some scientific evidence that when we have changes in lunar cycles, when certain planets align, when we have new moons, when we have full moons, that it has an effect on human emotion by way of gravity. Now, don't take my word for it. You can do your own research via Google to find these things out. I'm just bringing the information because I have some expertise when it comes to using astrology to time the markets and to combine that with technical analysis to kind of predict when markets and where markets will turn around and, provide a support and resistance. Now let's hop into the charts so that we can check it out. And if anybody that ever wants to go in depth more about it, I actually wrote a book about this years ago that the link is down in the description, but there are also other books and other literature available for you to check out in reference to this. Now here on TradingView, they actually have an indicator called moon phases, or they have several. So I'll put one on my chart just so you can see it. And if you actually go to the tab indicators and you type in moon phases, you'll see several indicators for moon phases. Now, this is the one that I use when I do use it. And these indicators are on here for a reason. It's not something that somebody is just pulling out of their ass. This is actually a real thing. You can do research on Google, and there are books on Amazon that you can get access to that show the correlations between these markets and changes in lunar cycles. The ones on the bottom are what is considered full moons. And of course, if you have TradingView, which if you don't have TradingView, the link's down in the description, you can actually change the color and how these things appear on the chart. But that's not really, what we're here for. We're here to actually, for me to point out how these things work. Now, the new moon and the full moon have been known to correlate with tops and bottoms in the market. Okay. Now, when you put these indicators on your chart, don't take a trade just because the moon appears, right? That's not exactly how it works. Okay. So let's just say, for example, right here, as you can see right here, the full moon came out. And as you can see, we, created a top and then the market came down, right? Okay, so you can see through the chart that, there is some correlation. And the reason why this does correlate is because the crypto markets, the stock markets, the Forex markets, any financial market is all a measure of human emotion. And the theory is that when the lunar cycles change and transition, you have a change in human emotion. Like, for example, people always say, oh, Mercury must be in retrograde, right? So during certain lunar cycles, there's a rise in crime. There's a rise in suicides. There's a rise in, the way, the fashion in which people spend their money. And in addition to that, for a lot of people that don't know, a lot of holidays revolve around moon cycles, and different religions are all based around the cycles of the moon. That's where a lot of this stuff, comes from. So there is something there in reference to these markets. And again, it's something that you should study and, of course, back test to understand. So as you can see, we recently had a full moon, and then we had this takeoff of Bitcoin, but we also have this level of support and resistance right here, right? So this is typically the proper way to use it. You need to kind of look at the charts and use technical analysis along with it, because the moon kind of gives you the win. Now, if you want to know the exact support and resistance, it gets a lot deeper. There's an entire rabbit hole that you can jump down. I actually learned how to use the pentagram, and using the pentagram, you can look at certain alignments with stars and not just, planetary alignments, and formula that you can use to calculate support and resistance in any financial market. Like I said, I've used this stuff before. Some of these things can be used on like the 15, 20-minute charts, which I don't suggest that most people use. But, you can use them for long-term plays. For example, we have super moons. We have these moons that are like blue or red. These things a lot of times correlate with bottoms and tops, especially when you have, these lunar cycles where you have the sun and the moon where they line up like this. And then you have this, everybody's outside with their crazy goggles on. Well, the majority of the time, these things paint out tops and bottoms in the market. So the last super moon that we had was November 15th, right? So I'll come on the chart and I can find November 15th. And that's right here, right? So as you can see, we had this super moon November 15th, and then, we had this leg up, and obviously it created a new level of, a new level of support was created after this super moon right here, right? So, if you look up, just find a day, blood moons, super moons, lunar eclipses, Mercury retrograde, the beginning and the ending of it, and line up and plot these dates on the chart, and you will see that there is some type of price action that happens around these phenomena. Okay. Now, for anybody out there, if you are familiar with Elliott wave, if you're familiar with Gann and these other types of technical analysis, well, the origins of all of these things are lunar cycles. These things go back to before we had actual stock charts, right? This is back when people were, buying and selling commodities on paper, and when you had rice and when you had other things before we had computers to look at this stuff. And if you read the story of Gann and Elliott wave, they used some of these same phenomena to figure out, okay, when should we buy this commodity and when should we sell it, based off of lunar cycles having an effect on people's human emotions as a collective. So the last lunar eclipse that we had, just to use that as an example, was November 8th of 2022. So if I scroll over and go back to 2022, and November 8th, right here. Okay. Obviously, we had this large move down. Then we found a level of support and we never returned. Okay. So these are just examples of, and this is the exact day right here. All right. What was that? November 8th of 2022 was right here. These are just examples for you to use. From my experience, what I've seen around these things is you have price becomes really erratic. So I just wanted to just show you all, you don't have to make it complicated. It can be something simple to use. Go into the past and look at this stuff. Don't use it going forward if you don't fully understand it. Again, to me, the law is technical analysis when it comes to timing price in any financial market. But these things can also be used as a catalyst. Okay. Again, like I said, I wrote a book on this. Feel free to hop down into the description and check it out. But in that book, I show you how to use the moon phases, obviously, and also how to use the pentagram. And using the pentagram, you can look at the current position of planets in the sky as you see today. And you can use it to give you important support and resistance. And they call it planetary support and resistance. And it's something, like I said, it does work. But at the end of the day, when it comes to trading financial markets and making, decisions in these things, keeping it simple is always the best way forward. But this is just something that I use every now and again. It really just depends. I really like the larger lunar cycles, like the not just the full moons and the new moons, but the super moons, the lunar eclipses, these blood moons, these orange moons. They always call a major bottom or top. Again, I know this is something different and it may go over some people's heads, and that's cool. That's fine and dandy. But I think that it is something that people should know about and that you should definitely look into. It may be for you and it may not. But either way, you're still my crypto goon. I appreciate you. Shout out to all my goons for pulling up once again. Crypto goon out.